Hey guys, what's going on? My name's Kevin and I help people to communicate better and connect deeper in their relationships. And today I want to share with you 7 things to never do when fighting in your relationship. Whether this is with your significant other, with your spouse, whether it's with your kids, whether it's with friends, family members, co-workers, bosses, it doesn't matter. It applies across the board. And let's face it, relationships have ups and downs, and there are times when in any relationship, you're gonna get into your share of arguments. So the first thing is to never blame the other person. This is a big one. I had to learn this time and time again because, when you point the finger at somebody and you blame them, man, it just, if it's ever happened to you or you got blamed for something, whether it was, true or not, whether it was your fault or not, you feel like you're getting attacked. And anytime somebody attacks you, you're not going to want to communicate, right? It's just like defenses go up, and then it creates a lot of anger and resentment and frustration, and you get pissed off, and it just really kills communication in a relationship. And ultimately, it just hurts the relationship as well. Okay, now the second thing is to never criticize the other person as well, especially when you feel that you're right. Somebody else, the other person did something that was wrong, or they hurt you in a certain way. It's very difficult sometimes to kind of detach, emotionally, from that whole kind of the feeling, right? The emotion of what's happened. And, criticizing is another thing. When you're pointing out flaws in the other person and when you're criticizing them, that it's the same thing as blame. It raises defenses up. And again, it just kind of, what happens is it creates distance. It creates disconnection. It creates, disengagement where, you don't even want to talk to each other anymore. When you're doing that to your partner or your kids or whoever, or they're doing that to you, right? It just puts up that wall. You don't even, want to communicate. After a while, it's like, I talk with women a lot who, they message me about how their husbands or their boyfriends, every time they want to bring something up about their relationship issues with these men, that, they just want to talk about it. And no matter what way they try to bring it up, or when they try to do it, or how they do it, what they say, it always ends up in an argument. And they get to the point where after a while, they just give up. They don't even bring the stuff up anymore. They try to ignore it, deny it, repress it, and it never goes away. And so what happens is it just creates over time this, anger and bitterness and resentment, and it just completely starts to destroy the relationship from the inside out. Okay, number 3 is to never judge or accuse the other person. When we're judging, we're coming to like final decisions, or we're coming to conclusions. And, when you're making like accusations or judgments against somebody, that could be some serious stuff, especially if you're doing it wrongfully, without having all the facts. If you go off kind of, what you think is going on, and man, it can really, really escalate an argument. It could just, blow it all the way out and completely ruin a relationship. It could destroy a relationship right there on the spot if you're not careful. So, along with the blame and the criticism, want to make sure too that you're not judging or accusing your partner. Okay, so the 4th thing now, and this is a big one. It's an obvious one, but I can't tell you how many times people keep doing it, especially in the heat of the moment when things are getting all boiled up and you're getting emotional and you're having an argument or something's going on, and you call the person a name calling. You never want to resort to name calling. It's just like the most, it really can hurt somebody when you call them a name, something derogatory, or sometimes it just, in the heat of the moment, you don't mean it and boom, it comes out. And no matter, how many times, you could be forgiven. You can work through it if you, called someone a name or someone called you that, you can work through that stuff. You can forgive, but it's never going to be forgotten. It's always going to be somewhere in that memory. It's always going to be there. Once it's said, it cannot be taken back. So, really being conscious, not ever, 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 no matter how pissed off you get, never to resort to name calling. So number 5 is to never make assumptions, and this is another one where, man, people get into so much, they create so many problems and so much trouble in their relationships when they start to assume things. And, it's like coming to a conclusion without all the facts, right? Not really knowing if what you're thinking is true, but you're coming from a place where in your mind it is. And so, you start like, you could tell your husband, that, because you haven't had sex in a month, that he's probably doesn't even love you anymore. He's not attracted to you, and he's probably like seeing somebody else. He's cheating on you, right? And especially if that stuff's not true, man, I mean, you talk about butting heads and creating problems in a relationship. Assumptions are a very, very dangerous road to go down in any relationship. So make sure, before you present anything to whoever it is, your husband, your wife, your significant other, your kids, friends, whoever it might be, make sure it's not based off of something that you're just thinking without any kind of, evidence or facts behind it. All right, and so number 6 is to never make threats. And threats, that's like, the ultimatum, right? The big, you do this again, it's over. Or, if you lie to me again, I'm leaving. If whatever it might be, right? But when you make a threat, I mean, it's just like backs against the wall, and threat is it creates exactly what it says, threat in a relationship. So it creates uncertainty. If you've ever had a threat made to you, all of a sudden, like, everything's kind of feeling uncertain. I mean, whoa, what's going on? Are they going to leave? Right? What's going to happen here? Or, you're constantly now, you're wondering, right? What's going to happen? What's going to be the one thing that triggers him or her, or what's going to set this off? And it just creates a lot of uncertainty. And when you have that, it also creates a lot of fear, right? A lot of anxiety then starts to work its way into the relationship. And then, when you have that stuff, you have tension in a relationship. And especially if you're in the same household, now it's like, it's not just between you and the other person, but it's in the house. That whole energy's in there, that tension's there, that uneasiness is there, that anger's kind of there, and everybody else who's living in the house. So if you have a husband and wife, or two, a man and a woman living together, and they have kids, the kids start to feel that. They may not say anything, or you may think they don't know, but believe me, they pick up on that shit. So, be very, very careful. There are ways to talk about things. There are ways to talk about what you want and to get your point across without having to resort to making threats. And then finally, number 7 is to avoid reacting emotionally. Now, we're human. We have emotions. And emotions do serve a purpose. So, it's not a problem to feel emotion or to express it. The problem happens when we lose our ability to control it. But when we're reacting from emotion, there's no thought to it. It's a conditioned response. Boom, right? It just comes out. And because there's no thought behind it, that's why a lot of times we'll say things that we don't mean. It's like, as soon as you say it, it sometimes, like, oh my God, I wish I didn't say that. Oh, I wish I didn't call her that. Or I wish I didn't do that. Right? I wish I didn't kind of act that way, things like that. And it's really tough. So it takes a lot of awareness to be able to kind of, watch yourself especially when you're in the heat of the moment. And pool cleaner just went off and tagged me there. Anytime you start to feel that tension building within you, you know, a lot of times you'll feel it within your body, or you'll feel it like sometimes like in your head, like your head's gonna explode kind of thing. So you know when it's building, right? And when you feel that, you know, that's where you really want to be aware. You're aware of, oh my God, okay, this is what I'm feeling. I'm about to blow here. I'm about to say something. But being mindful and doing all you can to make sure that you just stop. You know, take a breath, pause. If you have to, get out, you know, and go for a walk. Go get some air. Do whatever you can to keep yourself from letting all that emotion just burst out of you, right? Because when you could take your time and give it a little bit of thought before you say something, then, I mean, I'll tell you, it's the biggest way to be able to save yourself from really doing potentially some serious harm to your relationship. So I hope that this helped. I'm gonna get going because, as you can see, the rain's starting to come down in broad sunshine here. It's like broad daylight sunshine and the rain's coming down on me. So I'm gonna head out here, but I hope that this helped you in some way. And in the meantime, if you have any questions or comments, type them in down below, let me know. And until next time, have faith, follow your heart, and trust yourself. And I'll talk to you soon.